I'm joined now by members from both sides of the aisle. Fair and balanced, we have Democratic Congressman from California, John Garamendi, and Republican Congressman from Texas, Michael Burgess, who is also a doctor. I'm glad both of you guys are here. Congressman Burgess, I'll start with you. I'm hoping, because you would know, you're a doctor, I'm hoping you've been in on at least some of the conversations of what the health care change should look like. Do you expect, can you promise us that we will get some granularity, some real detail tonight, and will it involve keeping some of Obamacare?
Well, I can't tell you what the president's going to say because I don't know. But as far as our committee work, sure, we're deep into writing the legislation. We'll have a markup, if not next week, shortly thereafter, and so that granularity will be on front and center display. It is going to be based off the reconciliation bill passed in December of 2015. So if people are wondering what it's going to look like, that will be the base point. Some people are concerned, of course, about things like kids on their parents' insurance stage 26, pre-existing conditions. These things were not repealed in the reconciliation bill in December 2015, so they will not be in our reconciliation bill this week.
So, Congressman Garamendi, if Democrats saw some of that holdover from the original Affordable Care Act, could you get on board? Could you at least show some support as Americans try and move forward on this issue?
Well, of course, if in fact the proposal actually advances health care for Americans. We've got at least 20 million Americans that are presently insured as a result of the Affordable Care Act. Will this proposal actually increase the number? Will it provide benefits that are better? Will it provide an opportunity for costs to be contained? I don't expect it to be lower. Right. But the rumors around are that none of those things will happen. And in addition to that, they're talking about a massive tax cut, the beneficiaries of which are the super wealthy, and that doesn't make any sense when you want to talk about income inequality in the United States.
Well, what about that, Dr. Burgess? Because, listen, Democrats are the ones that are supposedly historically known for taxing and spending. Republicans known for cutting taxes and not spending. The president may discuss a big chunk of spending tonight in different forms. Is that where you stand? Because we know that the Freedom Caucus members have said that they will outright reject, and these are Republicans, the hardliners, they will reject a lot of spending if it doesn't come with cuts.
Well, first off, as far as the numbers of people who have insurance coverage, clearly the goal is that no one's coverage is jeopardized. What is jeopardizing coverage right now is the continued stress brought by the Affordable Care Act, putting downward pressure on the individual. We don't fix that. There are a lot of problems that are just around the corner for a lot of people, regardless of the pretty political persuasion that we may try to use. As far as the defense spending, I certainly find myself aligned with those who are concerned with the top line in the budget. I was one of those people who voted for the sequester in 2011. I have resisted the urges to repeal the sequester. At the same time, I do recognize how the difficulty that our military has encountered with the amount of reduction in defense spending. So, yeah, I'll be interested in what the president has to say. I'm looking forward to an optimistic, forward-looking message. You know, we just can't stay at under 2% growth for many more quarters and still be the same country.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah, we got GDP today, and it was a bit of a disappointment. Second reading for Q4. Representative Garamendi, there is the belief that the Democrats' base is pushing Democrats like you to oppose everything that the president proposes himself. Will you applaud tonight for certain things? And is that true? Do we have the right assessment? And as you stand next to Representative Burgess, could you look at him and say, yeah, I'd work with this guy on certain things?
Well, of course, we already have over the years past. And if you take a look at the major bills that have come through the Congress in the previous two Congresses, it was the Democrats that provided the votes for passage, not the Republicans. And in almost every case, the Freedom Caucus wasn't there to keep the government running and so forth. But looking forward, yes, I hope the president is optimistic. I hope he does provide a positive message. We really need that in America. But at the same time, we need to be rational about what we're doing with our tax, with our spending. Clearly, the tax cuts that the president proposed during his campaigns would create a huge deficit. Some say adding as much as $10 trillion to the deficit. can't afford that. We don't want to run this on the credit card, but yet if you look at the Affordable Care Act, what was proposed in the last session and in the reconciliation bills that have been brought to both houses, there's an enormous tax cut, most of it, about more than 80%, going to the top 10%.
Well,
the bottom, once again, left out.
Let's just be fair and balanced here and say that we saw a huge growth in the deficit under President Obama. So we hope that certainly doesn't continue under President Trump.
Hang on a second. Take a look at when that growth occurred. He started in 2009, right at the depth, not even at the depth, at the cliff. And it continued down. That's where the big deficit.
Representative Burgess, and I know we have to go, and I'm going to get killed by my producers.
The last 4 years, it's been $1 trillion a year.
Okay, but what about $1 trillion infrastructure project? How will we pay for that? Very quickly, if you could.
Well, that's obviously the president's going to propose that this evening. Clearly, infrastructure is important to him. He looked at all of the things on the Republican agenda and said, I like every part of what you're doing,
how do you
but
pay for
I would like for you to add infrastructure. So there are a variety of methods that we can use.
Which are?
And the public-private partnership, the building with things.
My Republican
We're not
colleague,
going to solve it tonight.
He and his colleagues are in control. They've got to make the proposal. How are you going to pay for it?
I am not going to ask you guys to hug and fist bump, but I know once the cameras go off, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, we might do that.
Listen,
we might do that.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please join us again. John Garamendi.